The West Antarctic ice sheet holds enough water to raise global sea levels by several meters. And right now, standing at the edge of the Amundsen Sea, that fact stops being a number and becomes a sound. The low, resonant crack of ice that has existed for millennia deciding, all at once, to move. What was here last year is no longer here. And everything that lived beneath it, every creature, every chain of life anchored to that frozen ceiling, is asking a question that none of us yet know how to answer. That crack in the ice, it has a name. Scientists and journalists have taken to calling it the Doomsday Glacier, but its actual name is Thwaites, and it sits at the heart of the Amundsen Sea embayment, like a cork in a bottle. Roughly the same size as Florida or Britain, it holds enough frozen water that its full destabilization alone could eventually push global sea levels up by more than half a meter. And it is not sitting still. Its retreat has accelerated considerably over the past 30 years. What makes Thwaites different from other glaciers is where the damage is happening. Not on its surface, where you could at least see it, but from underneath. Warm ocean water is threading its way beneath the ice shelf, eating it from below, dissolving the very foundation the glacier rests on. In 2024, research including work from the British Antarctic Survey identified widespread seawater intrusions at Thwaites' grounding zone, finding the glacier significantly more vulnerable to melting than previous models had anticipated, a finding that calls earlier projections into serious question. The ice is moving, fast, and everything sheltering beneath, every creature, every current, every fragile thread of life, now hangs in the balance, and it starts here. Because sea ice is not simply frozen water, that is the first thing you have to understand. It is a ceiling, a living ceiling. Every spring, as light returns to the Southern Ocean, the underside of that ice becomes one of the most productive surfaces on Earth. Ice algae bloom in the cold and dark just above the water, clinging to the frozen roof in dense mats of green and gold. And those algae feed Antarctic krill. Krill, a creature smaller than your thumb. Translucent, almost jewel-like, swarming in concentrations so vast that they turn the water rust-red for kilometers. Antarctic krill is the central prey species in the Southern Ocean food web, the single organism that connects microscopic algae to whales, seals, penguins, and fish. An ecosystem the size of a continent, resting on something you could hold between two fingers. And that nursery is disappearing. In the Amundsen Sea region, observations from 2025 show that the timing of sea ice retreat is occurring earlier each year, and the ice-free period is extending. Krill larvae need the underside of sea ice to shelter, feed, and survive their first winter. When the ice retreats before the larvae are ready, they are simply lost. The population pressure is mounting in real time. From krill, the cascade moves upward. Antarctic silverfish depend on krill-rich, ice-covered water to complete their own life cycle. And alongside them lives one of the most extraordinary creatures in the ocean, the icefish. It carries no hemoglobin, none at all. Its blood runs completely clear, the only vertebrate on Earth for which that is true. It survives because Antarctic waters are cold enough and oxygen-rich enough that it can carry sufficient oxygen dissolved directly into its blood plasma without any hemoglobin to bind it, pumped around its body by an unusually large heart. It is a creature so precisely tuned to this one environment that it could exist nowhere else on Earth. And that environment, cold, stable, ice-covered, is the very thing that is being dismantled. Then, at the top of this chain, the emperor penguin. Every year, emperors return to the same fast ice anchored to the shore, to breed. They lay their eggs on it. They raise their chicks on it. The ice must hold for months. In the 2022 breeding season, colonies along the 𝐉𝐵𝐻𝐻𝐵𝐻 Sea returned to find the fast ice gone, broken up too early, a catastrophic failure documented by British Antarctic Survey researchers, in which 4 out of 5 colonies lost all or nearly all of their chicks. Eggs and chicks lost to the ocean before they were ready for it. A parent navigating by instinct back to a place that no longer exists. That image, ancient behavior meeting a changed world, is not a metaphor. It is a documented, datable event, repeating itself across multiple colonies right now. This is the first cascade. Ice retreats, algae lose their ceiling, krill lose their nursery, fish lose their cold refuge, and penguins return to a breeding ground the sea has already reclaimed. Each step follows the last with a terrible logic. But the collapse doesn't stop at the ice edge. Follow the current outward into open water, and the story gets stranger and darker. The emperor penguin, returning by instinct to ice that no longer exists. Which part of that hit hardest for you? The creature's precision, or the sheer scale of what's being lost? Drop your answer in the comments below. Now follow that current outward, because what happens next in open water is where this cascade turns genuinely strange. As we move outward from that penguin colony, away from the ice edge, into the open Amundsen Sea itself, what you find there is not emptiness. It is a different kind of crisis, moving at a different speed, and it is already well underway. The Amundsen Sea is warming faster than almost any comparable body of ocean on Earth right now. The mechanism driving this was laid out in the previous section. Warm, circumpolar deep water threading beneath the ice. But that same water is also raising surface temperatures across the broader shelf, and the consequences do not stop at the shoreline. They travel upward through the water column, layer by layer, rearranging a food web that took millions of years to assemble. The cascade that began with krill larvae losing their ice ceiling does not pause at the surface. It moves, outward and downward. Start with the whales. Humpbacks and minkies have fed in these waters along migration corridors so consistent that researchers could set their calendars by them. But those corridors are bending. The krill aggregations the whales evolved to find, dense, predictable, tied to the ice edge, are shifting in location and timing as the ice retreats earlier each year. A humpback is roughly the length of a school bus. It needs to consume enormous quantities of krill each day to sustain itself. When the krill move, the whale follows, but the new aggregations are thinner, more dispersed, harder to exploit efficiently. The whales are not disappearing. They are working harder for less, in places they have no historical map for. And beneath the whales, something stranger is happening at the very base of the open water food web. As sea ice retreats, phytoplankton blooms, the microscopic engine of the entire Southern Ocean, are shifting in both timing and location. Krill evolved over millions of years to be in the right place at the right moment when those blooms peak. That synchrony is now slipping. The bloom arrives, or it arrives somewhere else, and the krill that should be there to meet it are not. An ecosystem the size of a continent, and the whole thing hinges on timing, measured in days. Then there is kelp. This is the detail that stops you. Kelp does not belong in Antarctica, or rather, it didn't. Along the Antarctic Peninsula, water temperatures have risen enough in recent years that macroalgae are appearing in nearshore zones where they have no business being. And kelp does not travel alone. research has documented that non-native invertebrates arrive on kelp rafts, drifting south from sub-Antarctic islands, with over 70 million kelp rafts afloat in the Southern Ocean at any one time, each one capable of carrying passenger species from distant coastlines, driven by winds and currents toward the continent. As the water warms, those passengers increasingly find conditions they can survive in. This is not adaptation. The creatures already living on the Antarctic Peninsula did not evolve alongside these newcomers. They have no immune response to them, no behavioral defense, no competitive history. It is replacement, quiet, incremental, and accelerating. Drop below the surface entirely to the seafloor of the Weddell Sea Shelf, and you find communities that look almost geological in their patience. Sponge gardens, sea spiders, brittle stars. Some of these organisms grow so slowly that a single colony may represent centuries of accumulation. They are among the most biodiverse cold water communities on Earth, and they are being scoured. As glaciers carve with increasing frequency and scale, the icebergs that result drag across the seafloor, resetting in hours what took 300 years to build. Recovery is not impossible, but it requires stability, and stability is exactly what this system no longer has. This is what makes West Antarctica different from any other ecological crisis on Earth right now. It is not one collapse. It is a cascade of cascades, each layer of the ecosystem losing its anchor at a different speed, so the whole system is being pulled apart asynchronously. The ice goes first, then the krill, then the fish, then the birds and whales, then the seafloor, and crucially, each loss accelerates the next, because every organism in this system evolved in relation to every other one. And yet, British Antarctic Survey researchers working in recent seasons have documented something that was not predicted. Certain Antarctic toothfish populations and some Weddell seal groups showing behavioral flexibility, adjusting dive depths, shifting prey, tolerating conditions outside their historical range. The ecosystem is not passive. Life here is not simply waiting to be erased, but flexibility has limits, and the rate of change now outpaces the rate of adaptation in ways that no amount of resilience can fully bridge. West Antarctica is not a distant, abstract warning. It is the fastest ecological unraveling on Earth, happening in real time, and every layer of it is connected to the next. The ice, the ocean, the creatures, the seafloor. One system, one thread, being pulled from every direction at once. Subscribe for more like this. Climate change is affecting more than just one ecosystem.